ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar, my dear friends. I'm starting videos on talks with Swami Vivekananda, the greatest sage of modern India. He was a sage of highest spiritual level. These talks were the result of noting down his talks with different people by his disciples. His main disciple was Babu Sarat Chandra Chakravarty. So I start the first video of Talks with Swami Vivekananda, Chapter 1. From the diary of a disciple. Disciple was Babu Sarat Chandra Chakravarty. The first meeting with Swami Vivekananda, Mr. Narendra Nath Sen, editor of the Mirror, comparison between the English and the American, the future result of preaching religion in foreign countries, the relative value of politics and religion. A preacher of cow protection, man is to be saved first. Place, Calcutta, the house of the late Babu Priyanath Mukhopadhyay, Bagh Bazar, year 1897. It is 3 or 4 days since Swamiji has set his foot in Calcutta after his first return from the West. The joy of the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna knows no bounds at enjoying his holy presence after a long time, and the well-to-do among them are considering themselves blessed to warmly invite Swamiji to their own houses. This afternoon, Swamiji had an invitation to the house of Srijat Priyanath Mukhopadhyay, a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna at Rajballabhpada in Bagh Bazar. Receiving this news, many devotees assembled today in his house. The disciple is Babu Sarat Chandra Chakravarty. He has brought out his records in a Bengali book named Swami Shishya Samvad. The disciple, also informed of it through indirect sources, reached the house of Mr. Mukherjee at about 2:30 p.m. He had not yet made his acquaintance with Swamiji, so this was to be his first meeting with the Swami. On the disciples reaching there, Swami Triyananda took him to Swamiji and introduced him. After his return to the Belur Mutt, the Swami had already heard about him, having read a hymn on Sri Ramakrishna composed by the disciple. Swamiji also had come to know that the disciple used to visit Nag Mahasaya, a foremost devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. When the disciple prostrated himself before him and took his seat, Swamiji addressed him in Sanskrit and asked him about Nag Mahasaya and his health. And while referring to his superhuman renunciation, his unbounded love for God and his humility, he said, Vayam Tatva Anvesat Hataha Madhukar Tvam Khalu Karto. We are undone by our vain quest after reality. While O B, you are indeed blessed with success. He then asked the disciple to send these words to Nag Mahasaya. Afterwards, finding it rather inconvenient to talk to the disciple in the crowd, he called him and Swami Turiyananda to a small room to the west, and addressing himself to the disciple began to recite these words from Viveka Chudamani. Durgacharan Nag, the great saint and perfected soul living as a householder, who wonderfully reflected in his life in many of its phrases the greatness of Master Sri Ramakrishna. Words addressed by King Dushyanta to the bee which was teasing Sakuntala by plunging at her face, Kalidasa Sakuntala. So this, this is a stanza from Viveka माँ भैष्ट विद्वन तव नार उपाय संसार सिंधोस तरणे सतुप्राय ये गेव याथा यतयो सैपारम तमेव मारव तव निर्दशामि. O wise man, fear not, you have not to perish, means there are for crossing the ocean of this round of birth and death. I shall show you the same way by which holy men of renunciation have crossed this ocean. He then asked him to read Acharya Shankara's work named Viveka Chudamani. At these words, the disciple went on musing within himself. Was the Swami in this way hinting at the desirability of his own formal initiation? The disciple was at the time a staunch orthodox man in his ways and a Vedantin. He had not yet settled his mind as regards the adoption of a guru and was a devoted advocate of Varnasrama or caste ordinance. While various topics were going on, a man came in and announced that Mr. Narendranath Sen, the editor of the Mirror, had come for an interview with Swamiji. Swamiji asked the bearer of this news to show him into that small room. Narendra Babu came and taking a seat there opened various topics about England and America. In answer to his questions, Swamiji said, nowhere in the world is to be found another nation like the Americans, so generous, broad-minded, hospitable, and so sincerely eager to accept new ideas. Whatever work, he went on, has been done in America has not been done through my power. The people of America have accepted the ideas of Vedanta because they are so good-hearted. Referring to England, he said, there is no nation in the world so conservative as the English. They do not like so easily to accept any new idea, but if through perseverance they can be won made to understand any idea, they will never give it up by any means. Such firm determination you will find in no other nation. This is why they occupy the foremost position in the world in power and civilization. Then declaring that if qualified preachers could be had, there was great likelihood of the Vedanta work being permanently established in England than in America, he continued. I have only laid the foundation of the work. If future preachers follow my path, a good deal of work may be done in time. Narendra Babu asked, what future prospectus is there for us in preaching religion in this way? Swamiji said, in our country there is only this religion of Vedanta. Compared with the Western civilization, it may be said we have hardly got anything else. But by the preaching of this universal religion of Vedanta, a religion which gives equal rights to acquire spirituality to men of all creeds and all paths of religious practice, the civilized West would come to know that a wonderful degree of spirituality once developed in India and how that is still existing. By the study of this religion, the Western nations will have increasing regard and sympathy for us. Already these have grown to some extent. In this way, if we have their real sympathy and regard, we would learn from them the sciences bearing on our material life, thereby qualifying ourselves better for the struggle of existence. On the other hand, by learning this Vedanta from us, they will be enabled to secure their own spiritual welfare. Narendra Babu asked, is there any hope of our political progress in this kind of interchange? Swamiji said, they, the Western nations, are the children of the great hero Virochana. Their power makes the five elements play like puppets in their hands. If you people believe that we shall, in case of conflict with them, gain freedom by applying those material forces, you are profoundly mistaken. Just as a little piece of stone figures before the Himalayas, so we differ from them in point of skill in the use of these forces. Do you know what my idea is? By preaching the profound secrets of the Vedanta religion in the Western world, we shall attract the sympathy and regard of these mighty nations, maintaining forever the position of their teacher in spiritual matters, and they will remain our teachers in all material concerns. The day when surrendering the spiritual into their hands, our countrymen would sit at the feet of the West to learn a religion that day, indeed, the nationality of this fallen nation will be dead and gone for good. Nothing will come of crying day and night before them, give me this or give me that. When there will grow a link of sympathy and regard between both nations by this give and take intercourse. In ancient Indian tradition, Virochana was the first great king of the Asuras, possessing supernatural powers. Recent investigations in Assyrian mythology prove the existence of a tradition in Assyrian history about such a king called Berossus in certain ancient genealogies. Uh, Continue. There will be then no need for these noisy cries. They will do everything of their own accord. I believe that by this cultivation of religion and the wider diffusion of Vedanta, both this country and the West will gain enormously. To me, the pursuit of politics is a secondary means in comparison with this. I shall lay down my life to practically carry out this belief. If you believe in any other way of accomplishing the good of India, well, you may go on working your own way. Narendra Babu shortly left expressing his unqualified agreement with Swamiji's ideas. The disciple, hearing the above words from Swamiji, astonished astonishingly contemplated his luminous features with steadfast gaze. When Narendra Babu had departed, an enthusiastic preacher belonging to the Society for the Protection of Cows came for an interview with Swamiji. He was dressed almost like a sannyasin, if not fully so, with a Girwa turban tied on the head. He was evidently an upcountry Indian. At the announcement of this preacher of cow protection, Swamiji came out to the parlor room. The preacher saluted Swamiji and presented him with a picture of the mother cow. Swamiji took that in his hand and making it over. One standing by commenced the following conversation with the preacher. Swamiji, what is the objective of your society? Preacher, we protect the mother cows of our country from the hands of the butcher. Cow infirmaries have been founded in some places where the diseased, decrepit mother cows or those brought from the butchers are provided for. Swamiji, that is very good indeed. What is the source of your income? Preacher, the work of the society is carried only by gifts kindly made by great men like you, Swamiji. What amount of money have you now laid by? Preacher, the Marwari traders community are the special supporter of this work. They have given a big amount for this good cause, Swamiji. A terrible famine has now broken out in Central India. The Indian government has published a death roll of 9 lakhs of starved people. Has your society done anything to render help in this time of famine? Preacher, we do not help during famine or other distresses. This society has been established only for the protection of mother cows. Swamiji, during a famine when lakhs of people, your own brothers and sisters have fallen into the though having the means to help them in that terrible jaws of death, you have not thought it your duty, calamity with food. Preacher, no, this famine broke out as a result of man's karma, their sins. It is a case of like karma, like fruit. Hearing the words of the preacher, sparks of fire as it was scintillated out of Swami's large eyes. His face became flushed. But he expressed his feeling and said, those associations which do not feel sympathy for man and even seeing their own brothers dying from starvation do not give them a handful of rice to save their lives while giving away piles of food to save birds and beasts. I have not the least sympathy for them and I do not believe that society derives any good from them. If you make a plea of karma by saying that men die through their karma, then it becomes a settled fact that it is useless to try or struggle for anything in this world, and your work for the protection of animals is no exception. With regard to your cause also, it can be said the mother cows through their own karma fall into the hands of the butchers and die, and we need not do anything in the matter. The preacher was a little abashed and said, yes, what you say is true, but the Shastras say that the cow is our mother. Swamiji smilingly said, yes, that the cow is our mother. I understand. Who else could give birth to such unaccomplished children? Such accomplished children. The up-country preacher did not speak further on the subject. Perhaps he could not understand the point of Swamiji's poignant ridicule. He told Swamiji that he was begging something of him for the objects of the society. Swamiji, I am a sannyasi, a fakir. Where shall I find money enough to help you? But if ever I get money in my possession, I shall first spend that in the service of man. Man is first to be saved. He must be given food, education, and spirituality. If any money is left after doing all this, then only something would be given to your society. At these words, the preacher went away after saluting Swamiji. Then Swamiji began to speak to us. What words these? Forsooth says he that men are dying by reason of their karma, so what avails doing any kindness to them? This is decisive proof that the country has gone to rack and ruin. Do you see how much abused the karma theory of your Hinduism has been? Those who are men and yet have no feeling in the heart for men, well, are such to be counted as men at all. While speaking these words, Swamiji's whole body seemed to shiver in anguish and grief. Then, while smoking, Swamiji said to the disciple, well, see me again. Disciple, when will you be staying, sir? Where will you be staying, sir? Perhaps you might put up in some rich man's house. Will he allow me there? Swamiji, at present I shall be living either at the Alam Bazar Mutt or at the garden house of Gopal Lal seat at Kasipur. You may come to either place. Disciple, sir, I very much wish to speak with you in solitude. Swamiji, all right. Come one night, we shall speak plenty of Vedanta. Disciple, sir, I have heard that some Europeans and Americans have come with you. Will they not be offended at my dress or my talk? Swamiji, why they are also men and Moreover, they are devoted to the Vedanta religion. They will be glad to converse with you. Disciples, Sir, Vedanta speaks of some distinctive qualifications for its aspirants. How could these come out in your Western disciples? The Shastras say, he who has studied the Vedas and the Vedanta, who has formally expiated his sins, who has performed all the daily and occasional duties enjoined by the scriptures, who is self-restrained in his food and general conduct, and especially he who is accomplished in the four special sadhanas, preliminary disciplines, he alone has a right to the practice of Vedanta. Your Western disciples are in the first place non-Brahmins, and then they are lacks in point of proper food and rest. How could how could they understand their system? Swamiji, when you speak with them, you will know at once whether they have understood Vedanta or not. Swamiji perhaps could now see that the disciple was rigidly devoted to the external observances of Orthodox Hinduism. Swamiji, then surrounded by some devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, went over to the house of Sri Jat Balram Basu at Bagh Bazar. The disciple bought the book Vivekananda Chudamani at Batala and went towards his own home at Darjipada. Rebellion against nature, the sign of consciousness. The same is true of nations. The cause of India's degradation, need for self confidence, man or money, the way to self realization, the Krishna of Kurukshetra, need for the development of Rajas. Place on the way from Calcutta to Kansipur and in the garden of the late Gopal Lal Seal, year 1897. Today Swamiji was taking rest at noon in the house of Srijat Grish Chandra Ghosh. The disciple reaching there saluted him and found that Swamiji was just ready to go to the garden house of Gopal Lal Sil. A carriage was waiting outside. He said to the disciple, "Well, come with me." The disciple, agreeing, Swamiji got up with him into the carriage and it started. When it drove up the Chitpur road, on seeing the Ganges, Swamiji broke forth in a chant, self-involved, Ganga Trangam Ramanye Jata Kalapam, etc. The disciple listened in silent wonder to that wave of music when, after a short while, seeing a railway engine going towards the Chitpur hydraulic bridge, Swamiji said to the disciple, "Look how it goes majestically like a lion." The disciple replied, "But that is inert matter. Behind it there is the intelligence of man working, and hence it moves. In moving thus, what credit is there for it?" Swamiji, "Well, say then, what is the sign of consciousness?" Disciple, "Why, sir, that indeed is conscious which acts through intelligence." Swamiji, "Everything is conscious which rebels against nature. There, consciousness is manifested. Just try to kill a little ant. Even it will once resist to save its life. Where there is struggle, where there is rebellion, there is the sign of life. There consciousnness is manifested." The famous actor and dramatist of Bengal and a foremost devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. From Vyasa's hymen to Viswanatha, meaning a whose matted locks look charming with the waves of the Ganges playing among them. These are the meanings in the above paragraphs. Disciples, sir, can that test be applied also in the case of man and of nations, Swamiji? Just read the history of the world and see whether it applies or not. You will find that excepting yours, it holds good in the case of all other nations. It is you only who are in this world lying prostrate, today like inert matter. You have been hypnotized from very old times. Others have been telling you that you are weak, that you have no power, and you also accepting that have for about 1,000 years gone on thinking, we are arrested, we are good for nothing. Pointing to his own body, he said, this body also is born of the soil of your country, but I never thought like that. And hence, you see how, through his will, even those who always think us low and weak have done and are still doing me divine honor. If you can think that infinite power, infinite knowledge, and indomitable energy lie within you, and if you can bring out that power, you also can become like me, disciple. Where is the capacity in us for thinking that way, sir? Where is the teacher or preceptor who from our childhood can speak thus before us and make us understand what we have heard and have learned from all is that the object of having an education nowadays is to secure some good job. Swamiji, for that reason is that we have come forward with quite another percept and example. Learn that truth from us, understand it and realize it, and then spread that idea broadcast in cities, in towns and in villages. Go and preach to all. Arise, awake, sleep no more. Within each of you there is the power to remove all wants and all miseries. Believe this and that power will be manifested. Teach this to all and with that spread among the masses in plain language the central truths of science, philosophy, history and geography. I have a plan to open a center with the unmarried youth. First of all, I shall teach them and then carry on with the work through them. Disciple. But that requires a good deal of money. Where will you get this money? Swamiji, what do you talk? Is not it man that makes money? Where did you ever hear money making man? If you can make your thoughts and words perfectly at one, if you can, I say, make yourself one in speech and action, money will pour in at your feet of itself like water. Disciple, well, sir, I take it for granted that money will come and you will begin that good work, but what will that matter? Before this, also, many great men carried out many good deeds, but where are they now? To be sure, the same fate awaits the work which you are going to start. Then, what is the good of such an endeavor? Swamiji, he who always speculates as to what awaits him in future accomplishes nothing whatsoever. What you have understood as true and good, just do that at once. What is the good of calculating what may or may not befall in future? The span of life is so short, and can anything be accomplished in it if you go on forecasting and computing result? Good is the only dispenser of result. Leave it to him to do all that. What have you got to do with it? Don't look that way, but go on working. While he was thus going on, the cab reached the garden house. Many people from Calcutta came to the garden that day to see Swamiji. Swamiji got down from the carriage, took his seat in the room, and began conversation with them all. Mr. Goodwin, a Western disciple of Swamiji, was standing nearby like the embodiment of service, as it were. The disciple had already made his acquaintance, so he came to Mr. Goodwin and both engaged in a variety of talk about Swamiji. In the evening, Swamiji called the disciple and asked him, have you got the Kathopanishad by heart? Disciple, no sir, I have only read it with Sankara's commentary. Swamiji, among the Upanishads one finds no other book so beautiful as this. I wish you would all get it by heart. What will it do only to read it? Rather try to bring into your life the faith, the courage, the discrimination and the renunciation of Nachiketa. Disciple, give your blessings, please, that I may realize these. Swamiji, you have heard of Sri Ramakrishna's words, have not you? He used to say, the breeze of mercy is already blowing. Do you only hoist the sail? Can anybody, my boy, thrust a realization upon another? One's destiny is in one's own hands. The Guru only makes this much understood. Through the power of the seed itself, the tree grows, the air and water are only aids. Disciple, there is, sir, the necessity also of extraneous help. Swamiji, yes, there is, but you should know that if there be no substance within, no amount of outside help will avail anything. You there Yet there comes a time for everyone to realize the self. For everyone is Brahma. The distinction of higher and lower is only in the degree of manifestation of that Brahma. In time, everyone will have perfect manifestation. Hence, the Shastras say, Kalinatmani Vindati. In time, that is realized is one's self. Disciple. When alas will that happen, sir? From the Shastras we hear how many births we have had to pass in ignorance, Swamiji. What is the fear? When you have come here this time, the goal shall be attained in this life. Liberation or samadhi, all this consists in simply doing away with the obstacles to the manifestation of Brahma. Otherwise, the self is always shining forth like the sun. The cloud of ignorance has only veiled it. Remove the cloud and the sun will manifest. Then you get into the state of a Bhiddhate Hridaya Granthi. The notes of the heart are torn asunder, etc. The various paths that you find all advise you to remove the obstacles on the way. The way by which one realizes the self is the way which he has preached to all. But the goal of all is the knowledge of the self, the realization of the self to it all man. All beings have equal right. This is the way acceptable to all. Disciple, sir, when I read or hear these words of the Shastras, the thought that the self has not yet been realized makes the heart very disconsolate. Swamiji, this is what is called longing. The more it grows, the more will the cloud of obstacles be dispelled and stronger will faith be established. Gradually, the self will be realized like a fruit on the palm of one's hand. This realization alone is the soul of religion. Everyone can go on abiding by some observances and formalities. Everyone can fulfill certain injunctions and prohibitions. But how few have this longing for realization, this intense longing becoming mad after realizing God or getting the knowledge of the self is real spirituality. The irresistible madness which the gopis had for the Lord Sri Krishna, yeah, it is intense longing like that which is necessary for the realization of the self. Even in the gopis' mind there was a slight distinction of man and woman, but in real self-knowledge there is not the slightest distinction of sex. While speaking, the Swamiji introduced the subject of Gita Govinda and continued saying, Jayadeva was the last poet in Sanskrit literature, though he often cared more for the jingling of words than for depth of sentiment. But just see how the poet has shown the culmination of love and longing in the sloka Patati Patatave. Such love indeed is. Patati patve vichalti patve sankit bhavdupayanam rasyati syanam satskiti nyanam pashyati tav pathanam. At the flying of a bird or the stirring of a leaf, she fancies you are coming, she arranges your bed with eyes all alert looking toward the way you would come. Necessary for self realization. These must be frightening and painting within the heart. Now, from his playful life at Vrindavan, come to the Krishna of Kurukshetra and see how that also is fascinating. How, amidst all that horrible din and uproar of fighting, Krishna remains calm, balanced, and peaceful. I on the very battlefield, he is speaking the Gita to Arjuna and getting him on to fight, which is the dharma of a Kshatriya. Himself an agent to bring about this terrible warfare, Sri Krishna remains unattached to action. He did not take up arms. To whichsoever phase of it you look, you will find the character of Sri Krishna perfect, as if he was the embodiment of knowledge, work, devotion, power of concentration, and everything. In the present age, this aspect of Sri Krishna should be specially studied. Only contemplating the Krishna of Vrindavan with his flute won't do any nowadays. That will not bring salvation to man. Now is needed the worship of Sri Krishna, uttering forth the line roar of the Gita of Rama with his bow and arrows of Mahavira, of Mother Kali. Then only will the people grow strong by going to work with great energy and will. I have considered the matter most carefully and come to the conclusion that of those who profess and talk of religion nowadays in this country, the majority are full of morbidity, correct brand or fanatic. Without development of an abundance of rajas, you have hopes neither in this world nor in the next. The whole country is enveloped in intense tamas and naturally the result is servitude in this life and hell in the next. Disciple, do you expect in view of the rajas in the westerners that they will gradually become sattvika? Swamiji, certainly. Possessed of a plenitude of rajas, they have now reached the culmination of bhoga or enjoyment. Do you think that it is not they but you who are going to achieve yoga, you who hang about for the sake of your bellies at the sight of their highly refined enjoyment, the delineation in Meghaduta, Vidhadantam Lalit Vasana, etc. come to my mind, and your bhoga consists in lying on a ragged bed in a muggy room, multiplying progeny every year like a hog, begetting a band of famished beggars and slaves. Hence do I say, let people be made energetic and active in nature by the stimulation of rajas. Work, work, work. Nande Pantha Vidyate Nyaya. There is no other path of liberation but this. विद्युदन्ते ललितवसना सेन्द्रचापं सचित्रा संगीताय प्रहतुमूर्जा स्निग्धोर्घोषम् अंतस्त्रिये मणि में भुवस्तुंग भैलिंगाग्रा प्रसादास्त्वा तुलयितु तुमलं यत्र तस्तै विष्णुसः. The mansions of that city may well be compared with you, O cloud, for there is correspondence in features. While flashes of lightning play within you, they have charmingly attired themselves, moving within them. While you have the rainbow, they have their paintings. You have your deep rolling rumble, they have their drums sounding forth music. You contain pellucid water within you. They have their interior bedecked with transparent gems. You soar so high, their roofs also kiss the sky. Kalidasa thus introduces his description of the enjoyments of Alakapuri. So the reference here is not only to the first verse quoted but also to the whole description which follows. Disciples, sir, did our forefathers possess this kind of rajas? Swamiji, why did they not? Does not history tell us that they established colonies in many countries and sent preachers of religion to Tibet, China, Sumatra, and even to the far off Japan? Do you think there is any other means of achieving progress except through rajas? As conversation thus went on, night approached, and meanwhile Miss Muller came there. She was an English lady having great reverence for Swamiji. Swamiji introduced the disciple to her, and after a short talk, Miss Muller went upstairs. Swamiji, see to what an heroic nation they belong. How far off is her home, and she is the daughter of a rich man. Yet how long away has she come only with the hope of realizing the spiritual ideal? Disciple, yes, sir. But your works are stranger still. How so many Western ladies and gentlemen are always eager to serve you. For this age it is very strange indeed, Swamiji. If this body lasts, you will see many more things. If I can get some young man of heart and energy, I shall revolutionize the whole country. There are a few in Madras, but I have more hope in Bengal. Such clear brains are to be found scarcely in any other country, but they have no strength in their muscles. The brain and muscles must develop simultaneously. Iron nerves with an intelligent brain, and the whole world is at your feet. Word was brought that supper was ready for Swamiji. He said to the disciple, come and have a look at my food. While going on with the supper, he said, it is not good to take much fatty or oily substance. Roti is better than luchi. Luchi is the food of the sick. Take fish and meat and fresh vegetables, but sweets sparingly. While thus talking, he enquired, well, how many rotis have I taken? Am I to take more? He did not remember how much he took and did not feel even if he yet had any appetite. The sense of body faded away so much while he was talking. He finished after taking a little more. The disciple also took leave and went back to Calcutta. Getting no cab for hire, he had to walk, and while walking, he thought over in his mind how soon again he could come the next day to see Swamiji. Talking with some Pandits in Sanskrit, what is civilization? Characteristics of Indian civilization, Samadhi, who is the real teacher, hereditary gurus, Sri Ramakrishna, place Kasipur at the garden of the late Gopal Lal Seal, year 1897. After his first return from the West, Swamiji resided for a few days at the garden of the late Gopal Lal Seal at Kasipur. Some famous Pandits living at Bada Bazar, Calcutta, came to the garden one day with a view to hold a disputation with him. The disciple was present there on the occasion. All the Pandits that came there could speak in Sanskrit fluently. They came and greeting Swamiji, who sat surrounded by a circle of visitors, began their conversation in Sanskrit. The disciple cannot remember how. Now the subject on which the Pandits argued with him that day, but this much he remembers that the Pandits, almost all in one strident voice, were rapping out to Swamiji in Sanskrit subtle questions of philosophy, and he, in a dignified, serious mood, was giving out to them calmly his own well-argued conclusions about those questions. In the discussion with the Pandits, Swamiji represented the side of the Siddhanta or conclusions to be established, while the Pandits represented that of the purvaksha or objections to be raised. The disciple remembers that while arguing, Swamiji wrongly used in one place the word asti instead of swasti, which made the Pandits laugh out. At this, Swamiji at once submitted. Panditana dasi ahem, aksant vyamitat khallam. I am but a servant of the Pandits. Please excuse this mistake. The Pandits also were charmed at this humility of Swamiji. After a long dispute, the Pandits at last admitted that the conclusions of the Siddhanta side were adequate, and preparing to depart, they made their greetings to Swamiji. After the Pandits had left, the disciple learned from Swamiji that these Pandits who took the side of the Purva Paksha were well versed in the Purva Mimamsa Shastras. Swamiji advocated the philosophy of the Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta and proved to them the superiority of the path of knowledge, and they were obliged to accept his conclusions about the Veda. Pandits laughed at Swamiji, picking up one grammatical mistake. He said that this error of his was due to the fact of his not having spoken in Sanskrit for many years together. He did not blame the Pandits a bit for all that, but he pointed out in this connection that in the West it would imply a great incivility on the part of an opponent to point out any such slip in language deviating from the real issue of dispute. A civilized society in such cases would accept the idea taking no notice of the language. But in your country, all the fighting is going on over the husk. Nobody searches for the kernel within. So saying, Swamiji began to talk with the disciple in Sanskrit. The disciple also gave answers in broken Sanskrit, yet he praised him for the sake of encouragement. From that day, at the request of Swamiji, the disciple used to speak with him in Sanskrit off and on. In reply to the question, what is civilization? Swamiji said that day, the more advanced a society or nation is in spirituality, the more is that society or nation civilized. No nation can be said to have become civilized only because it has succeeded in increasing the comforts of material life by bringing into use lots of machinery and things of that sort. The present day civilization of the West is multiplying day by day only the wants and distresses of man. On the other hand, the ancient Indian civilization, by showing people the way to spiritual advancement, doubtless succeeded, if not in removing once for all, at least in lessening in a great measure the material needs of man. In the present age, it is to bring into collision both these civilizations that Bhagwan Sri Ramana Krishna was born in this age. As on the one hand, people have to be intensely practical, so on the other hand, they have to acquire a deep spiritual knowledge. Swamiji made us clearly understand that today that from such interaction of the Indian civilization with that of the West would dawn on the world a new era. In the course of dilating upon this, he happened to remark in one place, well, another thing, people there in the West think that the more a man is religious, the more demure he must be in his outward bearing. No word about anything else from his lips. At the as the priest in the West would on the one hand be struck with wonder at my liberal religious discourses, they would be as much puzzled on the other hand when they found me after such discourses talking frivolities with my friends. Sometimes they would speak out to my face, Swami, you are a priest, you should not be joking and laughing in this way like ordinary men. Such levity does not look well in you. To which I would reply, we are children of bliss, why should we look morose and sombre? But I doubt if they could rightly catch the drift of my words. That day, Swamiji also spoke many things about Bhava Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. These are produced below as far as possible. Suppose a man is cultivating that type of devotion to God which Hanuman represents. The more intense the attitude becomes, the more will the pose and demeanor of that aspirant. Nay, even his physical configure, kin- confu- configuration be cast in that mold. It is in this way that transmutation of species take place. Taking up any such emotional attitude, the worshipper becomes gradually shaped into the very form of his ideal. The ultimate stage of any such sentiment is called Bhava Samadhi, while the aspirant in the path of Jnana pursuing the process of Neti Neti, not this, such as I am not the body, nor the mind, nor the intellect, and so on, attains to the Nirvikalpa Samadhi when he is established in absolute consciousness. It requires striving through many births to reach perfection or the ultimate stage with regard to a single one of these devotional attitudes. But Sri Ramakrishna, the king of the realm of spiritual sentiment, perfected himself in no less than 18 different forms of devotion. He also used to say that his body would not have endured had he not held himself on to this play of spiritual sentiment. The disciple asked, "What that day, sir? What sort of food did you use to take in the West?" Swamiji, "The same as they take there. We are sannyasis and nothing can take away our caste." On the subject of how he would work in future in this country, Swamiji said, that day that starting two centers, one in Madras and the another in Calcutta, he would rear up a new type of sannyasis for the good of all men in all its phases. He further said that by a destructive method, no progress either for the society or for the country could be achieved. In all ages and times, progress has been effected by the constructive process, that is, by giving a new mold to old methods and customs. Every religious preacher in India during the past ages worked in that line. Only the religion of Bhagwan Buddha was destructive. Hence, that religion has been ex, ex, extirpated from India. The disciple remembers that while thus speaking on, he remarked, "If the Brahma is manifested in one man, thousands of men advance, finding their way out in that light. Only the knowers of Brahma are the spiritual teachers of mankind. This is corroborated by all scriptures and by reason too. It is only the selfish Brahmins who have introduced into this country the system of hereditary gurus, which is against the Vedas and against the Shastras. Hence, it is that even through their spiritual practice, men do not know now succeed in perfecting themselves or in realizing Brahma. To remove all this corruption in religion, the Lord has incarnated himself on earth in the present age in the person of Sri Ramakrishna. The universal teachings that he offered, if spread all over the world, will do good to humanity and the world. Not for many a century past has India produced so great, so wonderful a teacher of religion synthesis. A brother disciple or Swamiji at that time asked him, "Why did not you publicly preach Sri Ramakrishna as an avatar in the West?" Swamiji, "They make such flourish and fuss over their science and philosophy. Hence, unless you first knock to pieces their intellectual conceit, through reasoning, scientific argument, and philosophy, you cannot build anything there. Those who, finding themselves off their moorings through their utmost intellectual reasoning, would approach me in a real spirit of truth seeking. To them alone I would speak of Sri Ramakrishna. If otherwise, I had forthwith spoken of the doctrine of incarnation. They might have said, "Oh, you do not say anything new. Why? We have our Lord Jesus for all that." After thus spending some 3 or 4 delightful hours, the disciple came back to Calcutta that day along with the other visitors. Fourth stop. The birthday anniversary of Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineswar. Need of religious festivals. Swami Vivekananda did not preach secta- sectarianism. Placed the Kali temple at Dakshineswar and the Alam Bazar Mutt year 1897 March. When Swamiji returned from England for the first time, the Rama Krishna Mutt was located at Alam Bazar. The birthday anniversary of Bhagwan Sri Rama Krishna was being celebrated this year at the Kali temple of Rani Rasmati at Dakshineswar. Swamiji with some of his beloved disciples reached there from the Alam Bazar Mutt at about 9 or 10 a.m. He was barefooted with a yellow turban on his head. Crowds of people were waiting to see and hear him in the temple of Mother Kali. Swamiji prostrated himself before the Mother of the Universe, and thousands of heads following him bent low. Then, after prostrating himself before Radha Kantaji, he came into the room which Sri Ramakrishna had used to occupy. There was not the least breathing space in the room. Two European ladies who accompanied Swamiji in India attended the festival. Swamiji took them along with himself to show them the holy Panchavati and the Vilva tree. Though the disciple was not yet quite familiar with Swamiji, he followed him and presented him with the copy of a Sanskrit ode about the Utsav composed by himself. Swamiji read it while walking towards the Panchavati, and on the way he once looked aside towards the disciple and said, "Yes, it is done well. Attempt others like it." The household devotees of Sri Ramakrishna happened to be assembled on one side of the Panchavati, among whom was Babu Grish Chandra Ghosh. Swamiji, accompanied by a throng, came to Grish Babu and saluted him, saying, "Hello, here is Mr. Ghosh." Grish Babu returned his salutations with folded palms, reminding Grish Babu of the old days. Swamiji said, "Think of it, Mr. Ghosh, from those days to these, what a transition." Grish Babu endorsed Swamiji's sentiment and said, "Yes, that is true, but yet the mind longs to see more of it." After a short conversation, Swamiji proceeded towards the Vilva tree situated on the northeast of the Panchavati. Now a huge crowd stood in keen expectancy to hear a lecture from Swamiji. But though he tried his utmost, Swamiji could not speak louder than the noise and clamor of people. Hence, he had to give up attempting a lecture and left with the two European ladies to show them sites connected with Sri Ramakrishna. Panchavati is a grove of 5 special trees arranged and grown to serve purposes of spiritual practice. The Vilva is also a holy tree of that sort. Hence, he had to give up attempting a lecture and left with the two European ladies to show them sites connected with Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual practices and introduce them to particular devotees and followers of the Master. At 3 p.m., Swamiji said to the disciple, "Fetch me a cab, please. I must go to the mutt now." The disciple brought one accordingly. Swamiji himself sat on one side and asked Swami Niranjanananda and the disciple to sit on the other, and they drove towards the Alambazar Mutt. On the way, Swamiji said to the disciple, "It won't do to live on abstract ideas merely. These festivals and the like are also necessary. For them then only these ideas would spread gradually among the masses. You see, the Hindus have got their festivals throughout the year, and the secret of it is to infuse the great ideals of religion gradually into the minds of the people. It has also its drawback, though, for people in general miss their inner significance and become so much engrossed in external that no sooner are these festivals over than they become their old selves again. Hence, it is true that all these form the outer covering of religion, which is in a way hide real spirituality and self-knowledge. But there are those who cannot at all understand in the abstract what religion is or what the self is, and they try to realize spirituality gradually through these festivals and ceremonies. Just take this festival celebrated today. Those that attended it will at least once think of Sri Ramakrishna. The thought will occupy in their mind as to who he was, in whose name such a great crowd assembled, and why so many people came at all in his name. And those who will not feel that much even will come once in a year to see all the devotional dancing and singing, or at least to partake of the sacred food offerings, and will also have a look at the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. This will rather benefit them to than do any harm, disciple. But sir, suppose somebody thinks these festivals and ceremonies to be the only thing essential can be possibly advanced any further, they will gradually come to be commonplace observance like the worship in our country of Sashti, Mangalachandi and the like. People are found to observe these rites till death, but where do we find even one among them rising through such observances to the knowledge of Brahma? Swamiji, why in India so many spiritual heroes were born, and did they not make them the means of scaling the heights of greatness, when by persevering in practice through these people they gained a vision of the self, they ceased to be keen on them, yet for the preservation of social balance, even great men of the type of incarnations follow these observances. Disciple, yes, they may observe these for appearance only, but when to a knower of the self, even this world itself becomes unreal like magic. Is it possible for him to recognize these external observances as true, Swamiji? Why not? Is not our idea of truth also a relative one, varying in relation to time, place, and person? Hence, all observances have their utility relatively to the varying qualifications in man. It is just as Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the mother cooks pulao and kalia, rich dishes, for one son and sago for another. Now the disciple understood at last and kept quiet. Meanwhile, the carriage arrived at the Alam Bazar Mutt. The disciple followed Swamiji into the mutt, where Swamiji, being thirsty, drank some water. Then, putting off his coat, he rested recumbent on the blanket spread on the floor. Swami Niranjanananda, seated by his side, said, "We never had such a great crowd in any year's Utsav before, as if the whole of Calcutta flocked there." Swamiji, it was quite natural. Stranger things will happen hereafter. Disciple, sir, in every religious sect are found to exist external festivals of some kind or another, but there is no amity between one sect and another in this matter. Even in the case of such a liberal religion as that of Muhammad, I have found in Dhaka that the Shias and Sunnis go to loggerheads with each other. Swamiji, that is incidental more or less wherever you have sex. But do you know what the ruling sentiment among us is? Non-sectarianism. Our Lord was bound to point that out. He would accept all forms but would say whether that looked at from the standpoint of the knowledge of Brahma, they were only like illusory Maya. Disciples, sir, I cannot understand your point. Sometimes it seems to me that by thus celebrating these festivals, you are also inaugurating another sect around the name of Sri Ramakrishna. I have heard it from the lips of Nag Mahasaya that Sri Ramakrishna did not belong to any sect. He used to pay great respect to all creeds such as the Shaktas, the Vaishnanas, the Brahmos, the Mohammedans, and the Christians. Swamiji, how do you know that we do not also hold in as great esteem all the religious creeds? So saying, Swamiji called out in evident amusement to Swami Niranjanananda, only think what this Bengal is saying. Disciple, kindly make me understand, sir, what you mean. Swamiji, well, you have to be sure, read my lecture, but where have I built on Sri Ramakrishna's name? It is only the pure Upanishadic religion that I have gone about the preaching in the West. Disciple, that's true indeed, but what I find by being familiar with you in that you have surrendered yourself body and soul to Ramakrishna. If you have understood Sri Ramakrishna to be the Lord Himself, why not give it out to the people at large? Swamiji, well, I do preach what I have understood, and if you have found the Advaitic principles of Vedanta to be the truest religion, then why don't you go out and preach it all to man? Disciple, but I must realize before I can preach it to others. I have only studied Advaitism in books. Swami is good. Realize first and then preach now. Therefore, you have no right to say anything of the beliefs each man tries to live by. For you also proceed now only by putting your faith on some such beliefs. Disciple, true, I am also living now by believing in something, but I have the Shastras for my authority. I do not accept any faith opposed to the Shastras. Swamiji, what do you mean by the Shastras? If the Upanishads are authority, why not the Bible or the Zendavesta equally so. Disciple, granted these scriptures are also good authority. They are not, however, as old as the Vedas, and nowhere moreover is the theory of the Atma better established than in the Vedas. Swamiji, supposing I admit that contention of yours, what right have you to maintain that truth can be found nowhere except in the Vedas? Disciple, yes, true. Truth may also exist in all the scriptures other than the Vedas, and I do not say anything to the contrary. But as for me, I choose to abide by the teachings of the Upanishads, for I have very great faith in them. Swamiji, quite welcome to do that, but if somebody else has very great faith in any other sect of doctrine, surely you should allow him to abide by that. You will discover that in the long run, both he and yourself will arrive at the same goal. For have not you read in the Mahima Sattva Taumasi Pesamar Navyav, that art as the ocean to the rivers falling into? So I stop the video here, and the next video I will start the talk number 5. Thank you, my dear friend. Please like, comment, and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar. Good.